So how well did I do in my predictions of breakout candidates in the AFC? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? Stitch Report here, back to another video. Today I'm talking about my breakout candidates from 2024 before the season started. And I was taking a look at this a few weeks ago, and I honestly think I did better than what I did in 2023. Although, like I said, you guys are going to be the judge of that. So let's not waste any more time. Let's break these down, division by division, as always, and see who I said was in line for a breakout season. Alright, and in the AFC East, with the Buffalo Bills, I had Gregory Rousseau, former first-round pick. Now, I wasn't right about him hitting the double-digit sack mark because he got 8 instead of at least 10. However, he also hit 53 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 24 QB hits, 3 forced fumbles, 3 passes defended, and finished with a PFF grade of an 83.1, which was 12th in his position out of 211 qualified players. That's pretty good. Being top 15 in your position when the season ended, that means that he is a well-rounded defensive end, and I'll take that any day of the week. Yes, does Buffalo need more players on defense? Absolutely, but Gregory Rousseau is a big part of this team. He's a big part of why they went to the AFC Championship game, and he's going to continue to be a big part for the Buffalo Bills, and he's probably going to be in line for a contract extension, maybe even this offseason. We don't know, but Gregory Rousseau has turned into a fine football player, even though he didn't hit that double-digit sack mark, which I still think can happen for him, but he's a well-rounded defensive player, and again, that's what teams need. They need well-rounded players on defense. For Miami, it's kind of a similar story because Devon Achane, I predict that he was going to hit the 1,000-yard mark. That didn't happen. He finished with 907 yards on the ground. However, he also had 78 receptions for 592 yards. He was 5 yards short of 1,500 scrimmage yards in 2024. That is impressive, and 12 total touchdowns. So while Achane didn't really have the season that I'm sure a lot of people expected from him, it was still a very good season and showed that he is going to be a part of this Dolphins offense for at least the next few years. So Devon Achane, he's a very, very good player, and just like with Rousseau, I do think he's going to crack that 1,000-yard mark at some point. I remember New England was one of my tough teams because it's hard to figure out who's a breakout candidate when you don't really know the direction that the Patriots were going to go in. So I went with Marcus Jones, and I'm actually pretty happy with how the results were. He had 58 tackles, a tackle for loss, 1 interception, 10 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. He had a coverage grade of 67.1. That was above average. His run grade was one of the best by any corner in the NFL. 88.2. He was one of the best run defenders at the cornerback position in 2024. His total grade was a 70.2. He was 47th out of 223 qualified corners. That's pretty good to be a top 50 corner in the NFL on a team that was not as good like the Patriots. It's pretty impressive, and I think Marcus Jones is going to be a big part of this Patriot rebuild and a big part of them hopefully getting back to the playoffs in the next few years. So for Marcus Jones, I'm very happy with the results. Oh man, I absolutely hate this. The Jets were the only team in the AFC East that had a breakout candidate that did not have a season-ending injury in 2023. And what happens? They're the only team in 2024 that had their breakout candidate have a season-ending injury. It was Jermaine Johnson. He tore his Achilles 2 games into the season, only finished with 4 tackles. Oh man, I'm hoping he recovers quickly because Jermaine Johnson, if he stays healthy, is going to be a very good edge rusher in this league for a long time. And again, I'm wishing for a quick recovery from him because I really want to see him at his best. For Baltimore, I should have just gone with my first instinct and gone with Zay Flowers and called it a day. I didn't do that. I went with Trenton Simpson. Simpson, 73 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 6 QB hits, 1.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, and a fumble recovery. But the problem is he got benched towards the end of the season. He had his struggles and it caused him to lose his starting job. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean he's done as a Raven. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's never going to be in the starting lineup again. It just means that he had his struggles going into a starting role in his second year. Now, what's going to happen in the future? I don't know, but this was far from a breakout season, and again, I should have just gone with Zay Flowers, called it a day. Okay, I really need to stop picking Bengals corners. DJ Turner, he had 29 tackles, a tackle for loss, 8 passes defended, and his grades aren't that bad, alright? He finished with a total grade of 67.8 from PFF, and why am I using PFF grades? I just want to get a full picture of what these players did in the season, because you can judge the stats all you want, but they don't necessarily tell the whole story at times, as what I saw with a few of these players. So Turner, he graded out as the 66th best corner, and that's not really bad. It's just that he didn't have the season that I was expecting him to have, and let's face it, the Bengals defense was just a mess this year. If it wasn't for Trey Hendrickson, I don't know how bad we're talking about with this Bengals defense. I mean, how historically bad they could have been. Without Hendrickson, I mean, this defense was still bad, but it could have been a whole lot worse. So for Turner, he's got to improve, and the Bengals need to figure out who they need to get to make sure that this defense doesn't have to rely on Trey Hendrickson again. I also went with a corner for the Browns. It was Greg Newsome, who was a first-round pick of theirs a few years ago. And Newsome has just not performed like a first-round pick, especially in 2024. He graded as the 177th best corner out of 223 qualified corners. Okay? So, the 177th best, that's not going to get it done. And right now, I don't know what's going to happen with Greg Newsome, because the Browns as a whole, they need to figure out what direction they want to take this franchise in. And I'm just not sure what's going to happen. But for Newsome, they drafted him to be the number 2 beside Denzel Ward, and that just hasn't happened. And it doesn't seem like it is going to happen with Newsome, and I really question if he's going to be on the roster when the regular season starts in 2025. That's the big question for me with Newsome right now. Alright, I went with Broderick Jones, and we know Pittsburgh's offensive line was a mess, but for Jones, he had 16 starts, he missed one game, and he had a 64.2 run grade, that's average to above average, a 54.6 passing blocking grade, average to below average, and then an overall grade of 58.5 that was graded as the 89th best tackle out of 141 qualified players. So Jones has definitely had his struggles in his first 2 seasons in the league, and some of it you can definitely blame on the Pittsburgh offensive line coach, but Jones has got to get better on his own rate. He's got to have better technique, and he's just got to be a better player all around. Maybe a move to left tackle is what he needs to jumpstart his career, but for Jones, he's got to learn it, and he's got to learn fast, because Pittsburgh, they want to win, all right? They want to win, and at some point, they are going to make necessary changes to make sure that they can win and that they're going to have sustained success for a long time. Alright, because what they're doing right now, they are essentially in football hell. And to get out of it, they're definitely going to have to make some changes, and we'll see what changes they decide to make in the next few years. And for Jones, if he can pick it up, he can be a part of the success, or he's going to get out of town. Okay, there was no surprises with Houston. I won with Will Anderson Jr., and I could list off the stats here, but I really don't have to. Will Anderson, he is one of the top young defenders in the NFL. There's not much more I can say about him other than, could he be a Defensive Player of the Year in the next 5 years? Absolutely, that could definitely happen. And let's see what happens. He is going to be in this league, bar an injury, for a long time, and I think all of us know it. Similar to that, but not really, I went with Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. They're a quarterback, which they drafted 4th overall in 2023, and I could list statistics, but we know what he is right now. He's still a project that is going to deliver some spectacular plays. Don't get me wrong, he can make some spectacular plays, but to get there, he's going to have about 4 or 5 questionable, downright awful plays at times, where you're just wondering, how is this guy a starting quarterback in the NFL? In 2 seasons, he has more interceptions than touchdowns, and I know this because I was just watching football analysis video on the 2023 NFL draft, and that just shocks me because in today's day and age where it's easier for a quarterback to have more touchdowns than interceptions, especially young guys, where the plays are designed to where they should not be making a lot of mistakes. It's just a shock when that is the case, and the quarterbacks that have done that, their careers have not gone well. So Anthony Richardson, we knew he was a project. We just didn't know how long it's going to take for him to develop. And him going into his third season, it's going to be a make or break season for him, whether he can show that he can be the guy or if he's just going to flame out. And that's really where we're at right now. And I should never have picked him to be a breakout candidate in his second year. And I don't know what I was thinking doing that. But one player I'm so glad I hit on was Brian Thomas, Jacksonville's first-round pick from the 2024 draft, wide receiver out of LSU, 87 catches, 1,282 yards, and 10 touchdowns. I am so happy I got this pick right. Brian Thomas, he is going to be Jacksonville's #1 receiver for the foreseeable future, hopefully for a decade plus, and hopefully the Jaguars improve over time as well, because right now for Jacksonville, with a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence and now a #1 receiver in Brian Thomas, and with some other talent that they have on that team, they have to perform better. Alright, the Titans offensive line was a little bit of a mess in 2024, actually more than a little bit, but Peter Skoronski showed that he is going to be a piece on that offensive line for a while, especially in the second half of the season. Peter Skoronski, he definitely had his struggles early on, but in the second half, definitely was one of the better guards in the league, and he graded as the 12th best interior lineman in the pass game. That's pretty good. That is really good. And Skoronski definitely is going to be in this league for a long time if he plays like he did in the second half of 2024. I'm actually quite proud with this pick. I actually am. Alright, Marvin Mims. I didn't get that one right. He had 39 catches, 503 yards, and 6 touchdowns. It's not a bad season. It's a good season for a guy that's a number 3 or 4 option. However, it's not the starting caliber season I thought we were going to see from Marvin Mims. I'll admit, I got this one wrong. And George Karlaftis, hey, he is who he is. He's a big part of the Chiefs' defense. He's not spectacular. Okay, I'll admit, I was stretching with George Karlaftis, calling him a breakout candidate since he technically was already a breakout candidate. I just thought it was going to be another step. It actually wasn't, but he's still a very good defensive end in the NFL and a big part of why the Chiefs went back to the Super Bowl this year. So George Karlaftis didn't have the season I thought he could potentially have, but it doesn't mean he had a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. Karlaftis is a mainstay on the Chiefs' defensive line and a guy that, again, we could probably see get a contract extension in the near future. Okay, getting Brock Bowers right was completely by accident. I just went with him because I felt that was the best Raider that had a chance to be a breakout candidate, and I got this one right. I mean, he had 112 catches as a rookie tight end. You just don't see that. With almost 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. Bowers, he is one of the bright young tight ends in this league and should continue to be a top tight end in this league, provided the Raiders do right by him and he can stay healthy. So Bowers, just an historic rookie season by him, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this kid. And the last team in the AFC, the Chargers, I went Joshua Palmer, 39 catches, 584 yards, and a single touchdown. Again, similar to Marvin Mims, he's a good 3rd or 4 option, but I thought he was going to hit the starting caliber wide receiver type numbers, and that just didn't happen, so I got this one wrong as well. Alright guys, those were my breakout candidates, and again, I think I did pretty well. I think I hit on half of these guys, and look, when it comes to breakout candidate, you're going to hit on some, you're going to miss on some, and some you're really going to get wrong, and there were a few where I really got wrong on that. But at the end of the day, I'm not too upset about how this turned out. Let's see how I did in the NFC in the next video, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.